The Sith's history is a legacy of darkness, a relentless cycle of ambition and betrayal forged in the crucible of the rule of two. For 1,000 years, this doctrine ensured their survival in the shadows, each master honing their power only to be struck down by an even more ruthless apprentice. It was the engine of their grand plan, a patient, venomous promise of galactic domination. Yet, within this unbroken chain, a single unthinkable heresy threatened to shatter the order. This was the story of Darth Gravid, a Dark Lord who, at the height of his power, committed the ultimate transgression. He dared to embrace the light. Gravid had risen through the ranks with terrifying efficiency, his mastery of forbidden lore and Sith alchemy unmatched. He was the perfect instrument of the dark side, and to continue the cycle, he took a ruthless apprentice, Darth Gravid. But as they delved into ancient secrets, Gravid found more than just power. He saw the Sith's endless paranoia and self-destruction not as a strength, but as a corrupting sickness. He began to secretly explore the most forbidden concepts: compassion, altruism, and selflessness. He saw the Jedi's focus on balance not as weakness, but as a different, more resilient form of strength. This was a radical attempt to merge the light and dark, risking not just his own life, but the very foundation of the Sith's millennium-long quest for revenge. Thus began the heresy of light, an act of philosophical treason that would threaten to unravel the Sith Order from within. The light, a foreign seed planted by his study of Jedi philosophy, festered within Gravid. It was a poison to his Sith nature, warring with the darkness that had defined him for decades. His mind became a battlefield, one moment plotting destruction, the next paralyzed by empathy. He saw the Sith's obsession with power as their greatest weakness, a self-consuming fire that led to paranoia and inevitable self-destruction. He began to secretly draft a new doctrine, a radical synthesis of light and dark. Gravid envisioned an order wielding the dark side, tempered by compassion, a heresy that threatened the very foundation of the rule of two. His apprentice, Darth Gravid, a purist steeped in ancient traditions, watched in growing horror. Her master became erratic, speaking of mercy and restraint. She tried to pull him back, but saw only corruption and weakness. The breaking point came when Gravid declared the Sith's legacy a curse, vowing to destroy their knowledge, the holocrons, the artifacts, everything. He believed purging the past was the only way to save the Order from itself. For Gravid, this was the ultimate betrayal. Her master had gone mad. The stage was set for a confrontation that would decide the fate of the Sith. Gravid's crusade began not against the Jedi, but with a far more insidious target: his own heritage. He saw the Sith's history not as a source of strength, but as a poison, a self-perpetuating cycle of betrayal that kept them weak. Sealing himself in the Sith fortress on Jaguada, he began his terrible work. He destroyed priceless holocrons, shattered artifacts imbued with forbidden sorcery, and burned ancient texts detailing dark rituals. Centuries of accumulated knowledge, the very foundation of the Sith Order, were lost to the flames and ruin. He believed erasing the old ways would purify the Sith, forging a new path free from the endless cycle of paranoia and infighting that had always plagued them. But his apprentice, Darth Gravid, saw this not as purification, but as madness. Unable to watch her culture's annihilation, she confronted her master amid the swirling chaos. The fortress shook with unleashed dark side energy as relics exploded. Gravid, convinced of his righteousness, saw Gravid as the last obstacle to his terrifying vision. They ignited their lightsabers, their crimson blades casting dancing shadows on the crumbling walls. Master and apprentice were now mortal enemies. Their duel was more than a clash of blades. It was a war for the very soul of the Sith, a philosophical battle fought with lethal intent. The ancient sanctuary crumbled around them, its destruction echoing the collapse of their Order's legacy. Only one would decide what future, if any, the Sith would have. The duel was brutal. Gravid's fractured mind made him unpredictable, but Gravid's resolve was unbreakable. Amidst fire and falling stone, Gravid struck a decisive blow, mortally wounding her master. She escaped the ruins, maimed and scarred, leaving Gravid to die in the tomb he created. The cost was immense. Centuries of Sith knowledge lost, the grand plan set back for generations. Jean, now Dark Lord, spent decades salvaging what little remained, forced to rebuild rather than conquer. The Order survived, but as a shadow of its former self. Gravid became a cautionary tale, the Mad Lord who nearly destroyed everything. Yet whispers of his vision lingered. Some Sith wondered, was his heresy madness, or a glimpse of a different path? The question endures, a ghost in the dark side. Did Gravid see a truth the others missed? Like and subscribe for more videos.